Good evening, Inner Peas. Welcome to tonight's trivia night. I hope you had a great weekend. Glad you could be here with us tonight. Kitiku. Good evening, Kitiku. And welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. Very relaxing, just the way I like it. Good evening, Gianna Marie and Pippadot. Been missing trivia following granddaughter's AAU tournaments. Well, Lieutenant RN, I'm glad you could be here tonight. Kalelisa, good evening. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Glad everyone could be here tonight for trivia night. All the questions tonight are on prison. They're prison related questions from the United States, Canada, Mexico, UK, and Wales. So if you know anything about prisons, you should probably do pretty good on tonight's trivia. We're not going to get into the weeds too much on like, hey, what do they do with this prison over that prison? There's no questions like that. It's all pretty much general knowledge questions about prisons. I left you a comment explaining everything about my absence on Dot on what? I am sorry. Was it a comment on a video or on a stream or I have not seen a, a comment yet, at least not today. Not nothing I remember seeing, but I will look for it afterwards. So, well, I haven't been been well, I haven't been. Thank God goodness. So I'll try my best. All right, that's all we can do. Use any means you want to try to come up with the answer to the questions. Use the internet, phone a friend, smack that hubby in the back of the head who's on the couch, whatever you need. It's all up to you. Not cheating unless you consider it cheating. Okay, that would be the community post then. I will definitely look for it if it's not after tonight's stream. But in the meantime, I thank you for being here tonight with us. Well, I appreciate it, Pippadot. Thank you very much. Give it another 10 seconds approximately, and we'll get this going tonight. Normally, I like to wait for all the notifications to go out, people to jump in. Hopefully, more will join along the way. All right, let's get tonight's trivia night going. This is the 355th episode of Trivia Night. This Trivia Night strictly adheres to factual evidence and verified data from the FBI and Department of Justice and Scotland Yard. It does not include conspiracy theories, speculation, or unverified claims about what may have happened. If you are seeking sensationalism or content related to similar theories or lies spread by those who can't be bothered to do the research on the topic, this event and topic may not be the right fit for you. Neither I nor my advertisers or sponsors associated with this content shall be held responsible for individuals under the age of 17 accessing this material. It goes without saying how people who are under the the age of 17 access this stuff. Additionally, we are not liable for comments or live chat messages, as they do not necessarily reflect the views or our opinions. And that is, again, not for so much for YouTube, it's for other sites that I stream to, because I am not just streaming to one platform. This program documents actual crimes and offenses by criminals. Some of the content covered here may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. With that all said, question number 1 is now on your screen. In the beginning of every single question, you'll see either US, Canada, and if it's just individual countries, or a list of which countries the question is referring to. But question number 1, what is the number 1 most used weapon one prisoner may use upon another in the US? Is it A, a shank, a homemade knife-like weapon? B, a lock or rock in a sock? C, a food tray made of plastic or metal? Or D, a fist? Yes, Callie Lisa. According to the federal statutes and the state laws that I must abide by, anyone over the age from 17 on, 18, 19, 20, and so on, is considered an adult and can access restricted content. I am not making adult content. I am making restricted content. And for the laws for the internet from my state, I have to abide by not only federal laws, but state laws. And they say that someone who is 17 years of age can access restricted content, but not adult content. And yes, there are YouTube creators and TikTokers and Instagrammers out there and other platforms on Facebook and stuff and the like that do make adult only content. And I'm not making that kind of content. I'm making restricted content. So that's the law. And we don't want to break the law. I gotta get myself in my little window here. Oh, back. Okay, that's a lot better. It's a lot harder to see the question when it's not on your screen at all. Question number 1. A, B, C, D. What do we have? And good evening, Lita, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Lisa is going with D, Kitty Q, Pippa Dot, Gianna Marie, and Lita are all going with A. The correct answer to question number 1 is D as in dog. A fist is the most used weapon one prisoner may use upon another. And it goes in the following order. Number 2 is a lock or a rock in a sock is the second most used weapon that one prisoner may use upon the other. Number 3 is a shank, a homemade weapon, knife-like item. And number 4 is the food tray. Most places are actually doing away with plastic or metal food trays and going with styrofoam. A fist. Yes, hand-to-hand combat is the most used weapon one prisoner will use upon another in the United States. Question number 2. In the U.S., how many inmates have been executed by the states since 1976? Is it A, 1,621, B, 1,956, C, 1,827, or D, 1,743? Please read the question and understand it as it is written. How many inmates have been executed by the states? Obviously, the District of Columbia is not a state, and nor do they have the death penalty. Nor does this count for, on the federal level. We are looking just for the number of inmates that were executed by the states themselves since 1976. And that is when the death penalty was reinstated in 1976. And Interpeas for the win with 144,000. Tammy, good evening, Tammy, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Seclusion Works. Good evening to you both. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you both had a terrific weekend. Tammy says not enough. And Kitty and Peas on the same thought process. Ivory Lady. Good evening, Ivory Lady. And welcome to tonight's trivia. Glad you could be here with us. Be sure you're on all messages and not top messages. All right, question number 2. The correct answer is A as in apple. 1,621 inmates have been executed in the United States since 1976. And when it comes to the total number of inmates that are currently on death row, that is a hard number to find. And I had to dig through a lot of information to actually find the number, because even though, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. Washington State, where I currently reside, in Washington State, we abolished the death penalty in our state, did away with it. The inmates who were on death row when they abolished it are still on death row to this day. They will never be executed, but they have not been removed from death row because there are several legal challenges that are in the way that must be answered first on abolishing the death penalty. So before those inmates could have their sentences commuted to life without the possibility of parole, which they were going to do, all of those inmates are still in the same spot. They have not moved. Now, we're not the only state that is like that. Several other states who have abolished the death penalty for several years still list inmates on death row, even if they haven't used the death penalty in 20 years, and they have inmates that are still on death, that were on death row back then. They still list them as on death row, but they have been moved to another unit and are still classified as a death inmate. But with all that said, the closest number I could find that actually says how many inmates are on death row is 5,126 inmates in the United States are still currently listed as a death row inmate. So over 5,000. But yes, as Tammy pointed out, not enough have been executed. And those inmates who of those 5,000, you can bet very few of them are left that are on that list in the state of Texas, because the state of Texas, I'm sorry if you don't like it, but they execute a lot of people. All right, going on to question number 3. U.S. again. All our times have come here, but now they are gone. Seasons don't fear the reaper. What season is the most violent behind bars? Is it A, summer, B, fall, C, winter, or D, spring? Good evening, Purple. Welcome to tonight's Trivia, Purple. I hope you have been doing well. I'm glad you could be here with us tonight. Remember, you never know who's standing next to you, Purple, and you never know who's going to be knocking at your door. Hello? Hello? Question number 3. We got a little bit of everything. A, C, 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 C. All our times have come here, but now they are gone. Seasons don't fear the reaper. Those are the lyrics from Don't Fear the Reaper. The real question is, what season is the most violent behind bars? The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is C, as in cat. More violent acts are done in the winter because inmates are not allowed to outdoor recreate as much as they do during the summer, fall, and winter. I mean, it's summer, fall, and spring. But in the wintertime, they spend more time indoors in housing units, and they're not able to access the outdoor areas as much, and tensions build up, and they commit more violent crimes in the wintertime. I would have, if looking at this question, I would have thought for sure it was A. Hot. People get bothered. Their tempers, are shorter in the summertime. At least that's the way it feels to me when I'm out on the road driving. People drive like absolute maniacs during the summertime. But yeah, winter. Winter is the most violent. Did you know in all U.S. prisons, only about 37% of all inmates are required to work? The states cannot force an inmate to work, yet better than 85% choose to work. They just can't be forced to in most states. What does that even mean, Will? That only 37% of all inmates in prison are required to work. In certain states, we'll use the example of Alabama, Mississippi as an example for this question. In those 2 states, you are required to work. It doesn't matter what the job is. It could be janitorial, laundry, working in the prison farm, being contracted out to another, private company. You are required to work and earn money to pay back restitution to your victims of your crime, because there is no victimless crime at all. Every one of the inmates who are in prison is because they victimized or hurt someone somewhere. Okay, but they're required in those states to work. But in all the vast majority of states, inmates are not required at the state level to actually work. They can say, "Nah, I'll sit on my bunk. I'll make my wife or my family or whoever is on the outside put money on my account so I can buy my ding dongs and ho hos and blondies and my whole shebang potato chips." That then they can do that. But again, more than 85%, it's actually 85.25% have that want to work. They want to work. They want to do something besides just sit around and watch television all day long. But they can't require them to work in most states. But again, in those two examples, Mississippi and Alabama, they're required. And what happens if an inmate doesn't? It's required to work in one of the states, not just those two, but all the other states that require work. If they, what happens if they don't? They get demerits, write-ups, and they get either put into solitary confinement or they lose privileges like access to a television or phone calls or visitations, on top of being put in solitary confinement, for periods of time. They lose, access to the few human, creature features that they may get. Okay, moving on. Question number 4. Still in the U.S., what is the number one most purchased item from the commissary canteen in state prisons? Is it A, socks, B, underwear, C, lube, or D, ramen noodles? What is the number one most purchased item from the commissary? You love jam on toast as a treat? I make my own preserves. I make mainly, strawberry preserve, and I also make, when I can get it, lingonberry. I don't know if anybody's ever had lingonberry, but the closest I can get fresh lingonberries from is northern Idaho near the Canadian border. I have a family member who lives up there and picks them and then ships them to me. One UPS flat rate box at a time. Good evening, Gemma. I'm up in your stream. You are up in my stream, yes. Jolly Ranchers. the Lori Vallow lipstick. I got to tell you guys something about the Lori Vallow, and something that is kind of disturbing that happened the other day. So I was all right, first I'll give you the answer to this question, then I'll tell you the answer to this question is D as in dog. Ramen noodles is by far the most purchased item on commissary in the United States. All right, full screen back to me for a second. So the other day I give you a little background on how I make all my videos. I write everything out long form and these spiral notebooks that are over here. I write everything out. The idea, first I start with the idea for the video. Then I write out, what bullet points I want to hit within the video, and so they're lined out in that way. Once I get the entire thing together, then I write it out in a script form. Then after I write it out in script form, I then put it into a word processor, and it not only corrects all my spelling errors or grammar errors that I may have within it, then it actually, I read that script out, or I practice and I memorize that script. Because I don't always use, bullet points or notepads or anything, when I'm actually filming a video. Anyways, put that aside, okay? The other day, I wanted to make a video for this coming week about Lori Vallow. And I put all my notes and I did it, I wrote it all out and I typed it, I put it in the thing. And I was like, everybody keeps on telling me about this new program. I won't give you the name of the company that uses not only AI, but it can also tell you what the percentage is for viewership or people who are searching for it. An extra feature to let me know, hey, this is when the best day is to launch this video. And this is how many people are looking for content on Lori Vallow. All right. I put it into the thing. and if there's a button that says AI submit. So I click on the AI submit button on the screen, with my mouse, click, and I'm waiting. I'm thinking what it's going to do is it's going to generate or maybe, add to or proofread, or it's going to do some kind of correction. No, it did that. It did 100% of what I wanted it to do. But about a minute later, I get a message on my phone, a ding on my phone that I have a new video that has been uploaded to YouTube. And I'm like, I didn't upload any videos to YouTube. I then log on to YouTube, go to my YouTube, and the AI program that I clicked on AI, that button, it made a video completely. I didn't add anything in. I never asked it to make the video. And then I get an email that tells me the best time to, launch this video, what day, what time, what hour, what keywords, everything else to submit with it. But you gotta love our new overlords, the AI generation, right? Huh? Because now I have a video sitting on my YouTube that is made by AI. Edit, I didn't do anything with it at all. I didn't add any of the wording, the tracking, nothing. That's scary. But I know that's a tangent, but let's get back to trivia. All right. Well, again, question number 4, the correct answer was D as in dog. Question number 5. We are now going to the great state of Canada. Well, all right. I guess they're still an independent country. We haven't made them the 51st yet. The United States of America has 6,245 adult correctional facilities. How many does Canada have? Is it A, 2,216, B, 3,216, C, 216, or D, 1,216? How many correctional facilities are in the country of Canada? Ow. Petticoat jumper farts. I don't know. I don't know if it's the program or what. And here's the scary, an additional scary part to that seclusion work. I never told it to make the video, nor did I know that the program would have access to my YouTube. I wasn't even logged in to YouTube. I was logged in online, but I wasn't logged on to YouTube, because every time I'm on YouTube, I log in and log out every single time. I don't let Google or anything remember my passwords or my screen names. Nope. I don't keep any of that stuff stored in the cloud. So I just one click and I'm online. I have to log in every time. But this thing knew somehow what my password, my screen name, and everything was, and it uploaded it to YouTube. It didn't make it public. It is now on my channel as unlisted. But weird. Way understaffed in Canada, says the Pippadot. Wait, do correctional facilities include city jails and county jails? Yes, Callie Lisa. All adult correctional facilities. We're talking city jails, county jails, state prisons, everything. In the United States, everything in the U.S. counts up to 6,245. But how many are there in Canada? You better stop searching for dog farts. That's funny. Dog farts and car crashes. And good evening, Carol Miller. Sorry if I missed you before. I hope you had a great weekend. Glad you could be here with us tonight, Carol. But I'm wondering how the hell, it got my password and everything. So yesterday, I changed my password to YouTube and to all my social media. They don't use the same password. No. So if you're able to guess one, you're not going to guess the rest of them. I use a different one for every one. But it knew my password. I don't know how it knew it. But, that's the world we live in, right? AI is going to take over. Someday I'll be replaced by a robot sitting here on this side of the table. And that robot will be saying all the wrong things because, well, the language models are still not good. All right, question number 5. The correct answer to question number 5 is A as in apple. There are 2,216 total adult correctional facilities in Canada. Less than a third of what there is in America, roughly. I mean, it's not exactly a third, but I mean, we have 6,245 in America, and they have 2,216 in Canada. Of the 2,216 in Canada, they do have a vast majority of them that are considered, and they consider drug rehabilitation places as part of adult correctional facilities, because the people who are there have been mandated by the courts to go to them, and they're not free to leave. So they are, I guess, underneath that technicality, they are in a jail system, but they are in a drug program. Drug or alcohol, sorry. I should definitely put that in there. Not that alcohol is not a drug. Some people get upset when I refer to one, and not the other. But anyways, 2,216. Question number 6. Back to the United States of America. What is the average amount of time a person convicted of murder will serve without any weapon enhancements or racial enhancements in America? Is it A, 25 years, B, 20 years, C, 18 to 20 years, or D, 10 to 12? What is the average? Now, for this question, please listen up. You must consider that the individual does not have a violent history, and they don't have a high score on the system, which means that they have previous arrests or anything else. We're just taking what is the average for someone. Maybe they had a couple of brushes with the law, and they haven't murdered anybody before. They haven't been violent. They don't, stick out, and they're not they don't get a high security, number for the prison. What is their average for the amount of time that someone convicted of murder in the United States will do without any enhancements? And the enhancements on that are, was it, murder first degree with a weapon? Was it, they killed a little old grandmother and robbed her for $13? Those are enhancements. Racial would be they did it because they didn't like the race or ethnicity of the individual or their religion. Those are enhancements. We're looking at what is the average amount of time someone convicted of murder will get without any enhancements. You might be surprised by the answer. Question number 6, the correct answer is D as in dog. 10 to 12 is the average Now, again, this does not count three strike you're out laws, which have pretty much been shot down just about everywhere. Three strike laws. This doesn't count enhancements. This doesn't count, hey, there were three murder. He killed three people at that house. That's the triple homicide, not a single homicide. But 10 to 12. Most states require that an inmate do 80% or roughly 75 to 85% is the average. 75 to 80% or is like, 85%, somewhere in that ballpark, between 75 and 85% of their entire sentence. They must do that time before they're eligible for parole or release. And a lot of states have made it so if you get sentenced to 20 years in prison, you can earn a good chunk of that time off for good behavior, and you can get more time off by taking classes, earning a trade if they offer trade programs within the state prison. You can get more time off for that. So get a degree, get your high school diploma, work a job, keep your out of trouble. You can they get these huge reductions off of their sentence. Not all inmates, I repeat, not all inmates are eligible for all of those discounts on time off or good behavior, learning a trade. If you're convicted of a heinous crime beyond murder, you cannot earn like, hey, look, I killed the governor of Colorado. I'm going to get out in 10 to 12 and that asshole's dead. Yeah, you're going to get you can earn some time deduction, but you're most likely not going to get just a light sentence of 20 years or 25 years. Now, again, if your sentence is you are sentenced to life, a life sentence. A life sentence is longer than 25 years. A life sentence could be your natural life behind bars. That would be different. We were looking at the next question was just for someone convicted of murder, manslaughter, murder, second degree. These are murder, convictions, but they can get out in 10 to 12 years, and that is the average. Did you know over 365,000 inmates who worked voluntarily work for private held companies, making everything from clothing to furniture to car parts? On the average, they are paid 11 cents to 19 cents an hour. Inmates in prison, again, some of those jobs that they have are they work for a private company, or they make things for a private company, but the prison system is like the contractor for it. So they say they go out and now this is not true anymore in America, but it used to be. Levi Strauss used to have denim jackets made by inmates in U.S. prisons. They don't anymore. Levi Strauss has now shipped their manufacturing of jackets by inmates outside of the United States because they can pay even less for those contracts. But there are other companies that still do have jackets and pants and other things that are manufactured by inmates in a prison. And again, they're getting paid, the inmate themselves are getting paid between 11 cents and 19 cents an hour for that work. Again, if you remember back to the other question, did you know earlier? Vast majority, better than 85%, 85.25% want to work. So they want, even at 11 cents an hour. I mean, when you have to pay 15 cents for one ramen noodle packet, I mean, an hour's worth of work doesn't even get you a ramen packet if you're making 11 cents an hour. But damn, it's pretty close. And, some inmates don't have people on the outside who can help them, so they have to work. They have to do something to earn money. so they can buy those, those few things that they get on commissary. Question number 7. We are now in the country of Mexico. What is the number one item purchased on commissary by volume in all prisons in Mexico? Is it A, taco shells, B, condiments, C, beef, chicken, pork, or shellfish, or D, clothing? Question number 7 of 20. In the country of Mexico, what is the number one item purchased on commissary by volume? I visited Cuba in March of this year, and they only make $35 a month. These prisoners make more than that. Wow. Good evening, Gayla. I'm sorry if I missed you earlier. I hope you are having a wonderful day today, Gayla. Glad you could be here with us. Excuse me. Jet's mom. Good evening, Jet's mom. And Scott B. Welcome both of you tonight to tonight's trivia. We are currently on question number 7, and you should see question 7 on your screen. I'm glad both of you could be here tonight with us for trivia. Question number 7. In the entire country of Mexico, what is the number one item purchased on commissary by volume? All right, the correct answer to question number 7 is B as in boy. Condiments. Condiments including taco sauce, salt and pepper, and mayonnaise are the top 3 items purchased on commissary in the entire country of Mexico from the commissary. A lot of other items are smuggled in. And good evening, Colleen, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Items are brought in by family members or smuggled into the prison. But items that are purchased by volume in large, in Mexico are condiments. My son has a cat named Jet. That's cool. All right. I have a cat named Mocha. We are now on to the United Kingdom. United Kingdom, question number 8. What is the number one item seized by guards in cell shakedowns between the years of 2000 and 2020? Was it A, hot sauce, B, porn, C, medication, or D, weapons? In the United Kingdom, what is the number one item seized by guards in cell shakedowns? A cell shakedown is when the guards go into a housing unit and they go cell by cell looking for contraband. And that is a cell shakedown. But in that 20-year span, what is the number one thing that was found in the cell shakedowns by guards in that 20 years? Yeah. Mocha, my cat Mocha is by far the out of all of our cats, is by far the best cat. I mean, I'm a little biased though, but I mean, the cat snores too. And he sleeps right next to my head every night, right next to my pillow. and it's just like this little cat, snores like. That's what the cat sounds like. And I'm like, it's not really loud. It doesn't bother me, but I definitely hear it when I wake up in the morning. He doesn't even get up. So I go downstairs and I'll make my coffee and stuff, and he'll trot downstairs along with, and as soon as he starts coming down the stairs, all the other ones come down the stairs, and they're like, "Hey, you want to feed us right now, don't you? I mean, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You want to feed us now, don't you?" United Kingdom, question 8. What was the most seized item? The most seized item is C as in cat, medication. In that 20-year period, they found more drugs that are medications that inmates were not supposed to have in their actual housing units. Medication that was not theirs. So take that for whatever it may be. Maybe they're taking Xanax, or they found Xanax in the cell, or whatever it might have been. Maybe it was a mind candy, kind of medication. I don't know. It doesn't actually say. It just says that medication that did not belong to the inmate was the most seized item in that 20-year span. Have they done a study on it since 2020? That, again, I don't know. All right, question number 9. Mexico again. Overcrowding is a major issue in all jails and prisons. What is the average percentage of overcrowding in prisons? Just prisons, not the jails. But we're looking at just the number of overcrowding in just the prisons. Is it 50% overcrowding? B, 10% overcrowding? C, 106% overcrowding? Or D, 72% overcrowding? Jeff's mom says, my Yorkie poo sleeps either on my pillow or what we call a daddy basket between his knees. That's cute. That's cute. A little Yorkie. Yorkies are little cute dogs. I've never had a Yorkie. I've had several, other types of dogs over the years. We are never getting dogs again though. The last ones, on the shelf behind me, my dog is on the shelf there. Lucky is going to be with me forever. He's over looking over my shoulder. But no more dogs for us. We weren't supposed to get any more pets, and now we have cats. Kitty Q is going D? Question mark? No clue. What is the percentage of overcrowding in the prison system in Mexico? Question 9 of 20. The correct answer is C as in cat. 106% overcrowded. Prison that was made to house 30,000 will easily have 60,000 plus inmates in it. They don't, look, this prison cell was only meant to house 2. Well, you better find a way to put 5 people in there with you. And that is the way it goes. If there's a spot on the floor or a spot for you to lean, there's a place for you to be housed, is the way that they look at it. And they're not building, prisons or places to, incarcerate these people any faster. And they just keep on putting them in prison over and over again until the place is just, it explodes. Well, I guess we better add another layer, so instead of a bunk bed, 2 beds, we'll make it 4 beds high, double up the capacity, now, look, we can also still put mats on the floor. All right, well, we can put 2 more there, 4 there. That's 6 in that cell. It used to be only for 2. But 106% overcrowding in the prison system in Mexico. Doesn't sound like a great place to be. Question number 10. We are going to Wales now. What commissary item is tied with instant noodles in all prisons? We are looking for the item that is purchased just as much as instant noodles. Is it A, bagels, B, fish, C, American style chips, or D, rice packets? In the country of Wales, what commissary item is tied with instant noodles in all prisons? And clearly I had to call, for C, I had to specify American style chips because chips in the UK are like French fries, chips. What item is sold just as much as ramen in the prisons in Wales? Question number 10 of 20. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer to question number 10 is A as in apple, bagels. These are not like a bagel like you would find in your New York delicatessen, a big fluffy American bagel. These are like not bagel chips, but they are already pre-toasted and then vacuum sealed in a bag, and they sell them individually. They're called bagels, but they're not like a bagel like you would find here, that's been boiled and then you cut it in half and you might put your lox or your cream cheese all over it. Now these are they're smaller, but they sell them individually and they're already pre-toasted. So all they have to do is open the cellophane like package thing, and then they eat them. But they're sold individually, and they buy them just as much as ramen noodles. They're tied, pretty much. I mean, not like an exact, like, we sold 4,200,600 of these. We sold exactly the same number, but they are tied. They're pretty damn close in number for the consistent sale. That is our first 10 questions. It is time for you to take a break. Now, and while we're on break for the next 7 minutes, I'm going to cover 2 cases of missing and endangered individuals from around the United States. Each of these cases are actively open cases of someone who is missing. This week's cases are from the Charlie Project, the FBI, along with the Savannah Project. The Savannah Project is a group of individuals who are mainly looking, and trying to put a spotlight on missing cases in the state of Louisiana. But this week's project, this week's missing and endangered are from the Charlie Project, FBI, and Savannah Project. With that said, again, I am working with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the Charlie Project, the FBI, NAMUS, the DOE Network. But the DOE Network ones that they wanted me to highlight ended in April. The entire month of April was all cases that were from just the DOE Network. Now I'm back to the normal, ones from Missing and Exploited Children, Charlie Project, FBI, and NAMUS. But these are also on the Savannah projects, like a list, spotlight list. With that said, the first one tonight is Penny Anderson, age 42, has been missing since 5/13 of 2018. She disappeared, was last seen in Omaha, Nebraska. She is 5 foot tall, 145 pounds to 150 pounds, green eyes, brown hair. She has both of her ears are double pierced, not just single pierced, and she has no known medical issues. That is a new section of details that I'm adding for the rest of 2025. Is if there are any known medical conditions, or particularly, hey, this person is a diabetic, they need medication for that, or whatever it might be. But there are no medical conditions for Penny Anderson. It was last seen in Omaha, Nebraska on May 13th, 2018. She has never been heard from again. She was driving a white 2009 Chevy Traverse with a Nebraska license plate number of VRA145. The white vehicle has never been spotted since. It means it never turned up in a wrecking yard. It never turned up in an impound yard. Nothing. The vehicle has been listed and it's been flagged by the state of Nebraska. So if it's out there, nobody knows where the hell it is. But it vanished along with her. She was last seen on May 13th, 2018, wearing flip-flops, workout yoga pants, and a black and white shirt. Few other details of her case are currently known. The tip line number for the Omaha Police Department is 402-444-5818. Now, if you call that number, you may be able to leave an anonymous tip, but I cannot guarantee it on this one because it's not listed on Anonymous Tip Network. So they're probably looking for any tips at all at this point. The photo you see is from her DMV, her driver's license photograph. Again, she was driving a white Chevy Traverse when she vanished. License plate VRA145. A Traverse is a Chevrolet like crossover. It has 4 doors, not counting the hatch, and 3 rows of seating in a Traverse. It happens to be the same exact model of car my wife owns. Obviously, hers is not white. It is, hers is like a deep blue, but that's not important. But anyways, the car has not been spotted. Now, I know several of you are probably wondering, and I was when I came across this case, the Spotlight. Is there or are there any large bodies of water near where she disappeared on that day in the Omaha area? Where she lived, she would have to have gone 45 miles the other direction to the nearest large body of water. But from the side of town where she lived, again, she'd have to go the opposite direction from anything that she actually knew or where she lived or what she had, friends or family or anybody else. Yeah, is it possible? Yes. Could this be something that we, like water research groups, like, that are out there would be interested in? Maybe, but we have no information that says that she actually went in that direction towards any body of water. Could it be a river? Yeah, that's a possibility. There's a river, there, but again, we have no information that says that, nor was her vehicle spotted there. But again, look at her photo. If you've seen anything or anything of what happened to Penny Anderson, you can call the Omaha Police Department. Next is Josiah Newberry. He is age 17 now. He disappeared on 10/20/2020 when he was 12 years old. This case comes to us from the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, along with the Charlie Project. But he vanished from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is 5 foot tall at the time when he disappeared at the age of 12. Again, he could be a lot taller. He could be 6 foot by now. His weight was approximately 100 pounds. Brown hair, brown eyes, no known scars or medical condition for Josiah Newberry. Josiah disappeared from Tulsa, Oklahoma on October 20th of 2020. He was a model student and loved by many, and it still is. He did not walk away or vanish on his own. Foul play is highly believed to be the reason he vanished. Take a good look at this photo, again, of Josiah Newberry. If you know anything about what happened to Josiah Newberry, or you know where Josiah Newberry may be today, you can call the Tulsa Police Department. This number for the Tulsa tip line, you can remain anonymous. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a tip with the Tulsa Police Department, you can log on to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and you can leave a tip there as well, and you can remain anonymous. Again, I want you to understand, if anybody out there knows what happened to Josiah Newberry, you can remain anonymous. But the Tulsa phone number is 918-596-9222. And you can remain anonymous, again, with that number or leaving an anonymous tip with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Josiah Newberry did not walk away from his life on his own. Break time isn't over with yet. You have a couple of minutes left. And then we will go on to the second half of trivia. If you enjoyed the first part of trivia so far tonight, please give it a thumbs up by hitting that thumbs up button. And if you want to be notified of new content that is coming out in the next trivia night or what other content I put out, please consider subscribing. So you can be notified. So you can also join this ever-growing community, of webs, and sleuths and people who enjoy true crime content. One minute and 30 seconds. One minute left. And we're back. Question number 11. United Kingdom. Fill out the most common breakfast for all prisoners in the country. They get tea, blank, milk, cereal, and blank. Fill in the two blanks. Is it A, beef and pasta, B, coffee and bread, C, corn and porn, or D, cigarettes and a pint of beer? Is that fill in? Which one fills in the two missing items from the common breakfast for all prisoners in the United Kingdom for breakfast? Is it one A, B, C, or D to fill in the blanks? Callie, Lisa, Ivory Lady are both going with B. What? No tea? Tea is they get tea. Callie, Lisa, it's the first item. Tea, blank, milk, cereal, and blank. JDR. Good evening, JDR. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Glad you could be here today. Sprinkle Donut can't stay today, just sneaking in to say hi. Take care of yourselves, everyone. You as well, Sprinkle Donut. Hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Tea is the first item on the list. Tea, and then a blank, and then milk, cereal, and blank. What are the two missing items for the common breakfast for all inmates in the prison? Question number 11 of 20. Kitty Q. I'm sure it's B, but I'll say A. LOL. Question number 11. The correct answer is B. B as in boy. The common breakfast that most prisoners in prison in the country of the United Kingdom, they get tea, coffee, milk, cereal, and bread. That is a common breakfast. B as in boy. Question number 12. Back to the United States. What is the number one crime committed behind bars in U.S. state prisons? Is it A, hard R word, B, assault and battery, C, theft, or D, murder? Question 12 of 20. What is the number one crime committed behind bars in U.S. state prisons? What I like is some beef and starch for breakfast. Oop. I forgot to put myself back in my little window. Hello, Will in his little window. Kitty Q is going with C? Question mark? I don't know. Could be. Might be C. It could be. Gianna Marie. I'm gonna go C. B. What is the number one crime that is most committed behind bars in U.S. state prisons? Question number 12. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Theft. Theft is the number one crime most committed behind bars in U.S. state prisons. Theft. Question number 13. U.S. federal prisons, not state prisons this time, federal prisons. How much time can an inmate get off of their sentence for not getting into trouble and going to school? Is it A, 3 years, B, 5 years, C, no time deduction, or D, 1 year? U.S. federal prison. How much time can an inmate get off of their sentence for not getting into trouble and going to school? Question number 13 of 20. What will the correct answer be? Callie Lisa going with B. Lita A. Kitty Q and Gayla are going with C. Hey, Pipita. Oh, Gianna Marie is going with C as well. Question number 13 of 20. Shouldn't get any time off, but the federal stuff is different. So I don't know. I don't know. As my son would say, I don't know. I don't know, Daddy. I don't know. I don't know. Pippa Dot's going with C. The correct answer to question number 13 is C, as in cat. You get absolutely no time deduction off of your federal sentence for not getting into trouble and taking classes. In fact, there is almost no deductions for anything in the federal system at all. You get sentenced to 100 years, you are going to do 100 years. I mean, I guess you could get a deduction in time if sentenced to 100 years if you die on the 21st year. But you get no deduction for this question off of your federal time for not getting into trouble and going to school. Did you know 249,058 inmates have died in accidents while working behind bars in the U.S.? This does not count those who died from abuse or neglect, just accidents between 1880 and 1980. I could not, for the life of me, find any statistics on accidents and deaths behind bars after 1980. I'm guessing that the prison system just did not want to answer questions like that anymore because it didn't look good. But in the first 100 years from 1880 to 1980, 249,058 inmates died in accidents behind bars. Yeah, accidents. And you have to wonder what was an accident and what was like, hey, look, your chain on the chain gang got unlocked. Oh no, an escaped prisoner. Better shoot him. Gun him down. Next inmate, please. Was that an accident? Did they write that down as an accident? You have to wonder from 1880 to 1980. Question number 14 of 20. U.S. federal time. We're looking at the federal system again. There are over 120 inmates waiting to be executed in the federal prisons. How many have been executed since 1927? Is it A, 18, B, 34, D, 82, or D, 50? Slipped and hit their head. Yeah, that's probably another accident. Oh, wow, I stabbed myself with my paintbrush, right? They quit recording it, says Kitty Coo. Yeah. But there's absolutely, I looked, I scoured, at the internet, and the Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, and any place I could think of that may have statistics or answers on this, the Department of Justice, the FBI, everywhere I looked, I could not find any statistics for accidental deaths behind prison walls after 1980. Everything that I did find just kept on referring back to the first and only study that I could find. And I'm pretty sure they didn't want to do it anymore. Federal time. There are 120 inmates awaiting to be executed in the federal prison system. How many have been executed since 1927? Question number 14 of 20. Yeah, maybe C makes sense in the federal system. How many? 1927. We are now in the year 2025. How many have been executed? Question number 14. The correct answer is D as in dog, 50. For several years, there was a moratorium on the death penalty in America until Donald J. Trump was elected president the first time. And he got rid of the moratorium on executions in the federal system. And then he expedited a group of, I believe, 10, it might have been 9, that inmates to be executed. And they were executed not like, all one prison, rapid, like, executions in one place. And they lifted the moratorium and they started carrying out the death penalty for federal inmates again. But for a lot of years before him, there was a moratorium on it. They weren't carrying it out. You had a death sentence in the federal prison. People died of natural causes before their death sentence, actually was carried out. But we shall see a lot more in the coming years because again, there's still 120 inmates, and we'll find more, and put more behind bars and to be executed. But if you learned anything about the prison system, federal, state, it doesn't matter. If you run out of room in a prison, you're not doing your job correctly. It's a revolving door. The recidivism rate is astronomically too high. We make it hard for them to get by once they get out, and we want them to keep on coming in because revolving door. All right, question number 15. Back to Canada. Until they struck down the death penalty in 1976, how many inmates were put to death? Was it A, 349, B, 710, C, 210, or was it D, 144,000? In Canada, until they struck down the death penalty in 1976, how many inmates were executed? I personally, putting this together, did not know that in the country of Canada that they had outlawed the death penalty in 1976. I was under the impression that they still had the death penalty and they still used it. And I was absolutely wrong on that one. Because I thought if they ever caught, the person who, or people responsible for the deaths and murders of the indigenous women along the highway of tears, that they would be executed for the serial murders of those indigenous women. But apparently, if they catch them, they're just going to keep them in prison until they die, but not actually execute them. But I'm sure if the families could, change places with the guards, it would happen pretty quick. I think Canada, I think of them being nice. I don't know, but the Canadians I know are nice. Are nice. LOL. And Pippadot had no idea either. All right, Canada, question number 15. The correct answer is B as in boy. 710 inmates were executed in Canada up till 1976 when they put a moratorium in place and struck down the death penalty. They put the moratorium in place first while they debated it. Then they outlawed the execution of inmates in the country in 1976. So 710. And here, the United States, we're pushing, a hell of a lot higher. There are two things that we make in America that people joke about. We make strong sheep and we make serial killers. But we're going to make other things too someday. All right, next question is U.S. and Canada. How many prisoners have been extradited from one country to the other to be executed? From U.S. and Canada, either from Canada to the United States or for the U.S. to Canada. How many? Is it A, 3, B, maybe 1, C, maybe 8, or D, 18? JDR, I live in Canada. There you go. Too many mistaken people for crimes were executed. Well, JDR, in America, we still use the death penalty as the ultimate punishment, and we have executed people with the mental capacity of a child who did not know right from wrong and could not even spell his own name. He was that much mentally delayed, but we still executed him anyways. We have executed children, technically children, is what it came down to. But yet, even with all the studies that have ever been done on the subject matter of the use of the death penalty here in America, there has never been a single occurrence where we've been able to prove through statistics that capital punishment lowers the crime rate. It actually has the negative effect that in states where the execution death penalty is actually carried out, the crime rate and murders will spike in the across state lines in the next state. Been proven over and over again. But when they asked inmates who were being executed, like, I don't know if they ever asked Ted Bundy, but the example of an inmate who was going to be executed, did you ever consider that the death penalty was being enforced, that you would could face that as a possible sentence? And most of them have just said if it didn't matter if there was a death sentence or not, as a possibility. I didn't think about that. I mean, what criminal would, right? I mean, if I rob this bank, I'm gonna get caught. I'm gonna get 10 years in prison. They don't think about that. They think about, I need this money, the adrenaline rush, and everything else about it. They don't think about the sentence. That is absolutely true, JDR. There is, and that is something I was going to bring up once I read the question. The extradition treaty the United States and Canada has in place right now today. Canada will not extradite an inmate to the United States to be put to death. That is not something that they will do. To answer question number 16, the correct answer is B, as in boy. They believe that there was maybe one, and that was back when the United States was still being formed back in the late 1700s, that one trapper who was believed to have committed multiple murders was caught in Canada, but for crimes that he committed in America, and then was sent back across the border into the United States to be executed for his crime. That was the possible. But the extradition treaty between the United States and Canada, like JDR pointed out, they will not send an inmate back to the United States to be executed. They're very, very firm on that. No, if the death penalty is an option, we're not sending him back or her back. I guess it could be a woman too. Equal opportunity. All right, next. Did you know? Next time you call customer service, don't be surprised if you reach a prison call center. If you are calling from the US or the United Kingdom, they both operate dozens each. In the United States of America, call centers that are staffed with prison inmates. There are 15 of them in the United States of America. They are not huge call centers like you might see on, a TV program or some, sitcom. These are smaller call centers, maybe 5 to 6, inmates themselves who are answering calls for customer service from, people who are calling in. In the UK, they do this same thing. They're smaller call centers, but each of them have dozens of call centers where they staff them with inmates. So don't be surprised when you call next time for customer service about something, you may be reaching an actual call center that is staffed by inmates. Question number 17. US and Canada again. The population of prisoners are mainly nonviolent offenders. What percentage of the prison system is filled with drug crimes? Criminals who are in the prison system convicted of drug crimes. What percentage in the United States and in Canada? Is it A, 43.25%, B, 71.5%, C, 62.25%, or D, 99.99%? What type of customer service do the call centers have? I don't know the answer to that, Kitty Q. I could look it up. I did not write down what type of call centers they are, what kind of customer service they provide. I do know that in the early years of Amazon, just after Jeff Bezos moved his operation out of the garage where he was packing books and shipping them and stuff from his garage, that one of the first call centers that he actually hired when they moved into their first actual physical warehouse was staffed with prisoners. But that was really early on in Amazon's history. And I do believe that was only like a 1 or a 2 year contract total. But there have been quite a few companies out there, that have done it over the years. I mean, Sears Roebuck used to do it. You called Sears Roebuck. But it wasn't just prisoners. They also had ex-cons who worked there as well. It was a good job for them. It gave them, an hourly wage, some way to earn money once they got released. All right, question number 17. The correct answer is A as in apple. 43.25% of all inmates who are in U.S. and Canadian prisons are there for drug offenses. 43.25%. Of the rest of them, of the percentage of, that makes up the 100% of inmates, because you can't have a larger than 100% of all. But of the rest, a better than 52% drugs or alcohol were involved in the actual offense itself. Either they were on it or it was a crime dealing with either drugs or alcohol. Yeah, but in that aspect, but they're not convicted of a drug crime. They're convicted. Maybe it was, well, I got high and I robbed a bank. Well, you didn't get convicted of a drug crime. You got convicted of, robbing a bank or a mom and pop store or whatever, a strong arm robbery. But that's why you're in prison. It's not because of drug, it's not drug charge that you were convicted of. You might have been on it. But 43.25%. Question number 18. Research suggests, we're back to the United States only. Research suggests that mass incarceration does not deter crime and may actually exasperate it by creating a cycle of recidivism. What is the USRR, which is the recidivism rate? RR, recidivism rate. Is it A, 52%, B, 61%, C, 76.6%, or D, 41.25%? What is the RR rate for America? I had to go get a water. My throat is getting dry. Water. Water to the rescue. Good evening, Tamara. Sorry. Welcome to tonight's trivia. If I haven't said hello earlier, please forgive me. What is the RR rate for America? RR rate is the recidivism rate. What is the recidivism rate in America? Question number 18 of 20. The correct answer for the recidivism rate in America, ladies and gentlemen, is a staggering 76.6% recidivism rate in America. This is a short list of items that if you are convicted of a felon, that you may be restricted from not receiving if you are a convicted felon. It is not a surefire, yes, 100% list. Like, you will never get these. You are ineligible for getting them, but you are restricted. And it goes by a case-by-case basis. The following things are restricted from, someone who has been convicted of a felon. And this is just how much we love to say, hey, you did your time, you paid your debt to society. Now we don't give a crap about you. And these are other things that they may not be able to get. Housing. When it comes to housing, they're not allowed to apply for Section 8 or be on the lease or rental agreement for any place that receives Section 8 housing. Employment. You may have a felon on your record, but certain jobs within states and municipalities, cities in that case, or federal will bar you from being able to be employed with them if you have a felony on your record. You will also, if you have a felony, you could possibly lose your rights to vote, your rights to, be, to hear, have an appeal or adjudication of your crime or your actual sentence or the total amount of restitution or fines that have been levied against you. All for a felony. First time offender, we don't care. And then we see that the recidivism rate goes up. It's at 76.6%. And we wonder, why don't they just get a job? Why don't they just, go move on with their lives? Why are they, committing crimes again? That just doesn't make sense to me, because we make it remarkably hard for any of them to get jobs, to get employment, to get any type of, stability behind them. And then up until, probably around 2000, we started to see a slight shift in the right direction. Not that the recidivism rate was going down. Oh, God, no, the recidivism rate did not go down in 2000. But we started to see a lot more people think about what we actually do and how we treat the inmate once they are released back into society. Maybe we should put fail safes in there. Like maybe before they get convicted of a crime and they go down that road because they feel like they have no chance at all. Maybe we should put programs in place to stop them from committing crimes. And then when they get out, let's put not just halfway houses in there. Like you get out, now you got to go, to, a halfway house, and you have to report to your parole officer within, 8 hours of being released. Yeah, that's hard. But, making it more flexible for the inmate to be able to, keep up with their parole, probation, and not locking them back up because they can't pay for their drug testing. And this is the things that we used to put in place to trip them up, so they were like, screw it, I might as well just continue to be an idiot and do more and more crimes. So the crime rate goes up, and you might want to keep an eye on this. That's 76.6%, because that is what it is in 2025 right now. But as the economy slides, and recession is looming on the out there, recession, that big R word, as people find it more and more stressful to live their lives and find jobs and housing, the recidivism rate always goes up. So keep that in mind. All right, question number 19. US, UK, and Canada shank you very much. How many homemade shanks were seized by prisons in 2023? How many shank you very much? A shank is a homemade weapon in the prison system. How many were seized in the United States, United Kingdom, and in Canada? Was it A, 2,091, B, 2,489, C, 1,564, or D, 1,651? We are looking for the total in just the year 2023. How many shanks were seized by the guards in the US, UK, and Canada? Not necessarily, Kelly and Lisa. They can, yes. I mean, they could. But a lot of those positions, truck driver, they can't get, the insurance to, or bonded insurance to take on those positions. We put these barriers in place for them. Yeah, maybe they can, but they'll pay double the rate, and then you have to decide when you're in a cutthroat business like being a truck driver. Yeah, and where the hell is Rykart? But in that industry, maybe it becomes too costly to even do the job. I'm not saying that there's no opportunities out there for them. I'm just saying we make it absolutely, a lot harder on them to be able to, go the right direction once they get out, once they're convicted of a felony. One is too many. They make them shanks constantly. If they get seized, they make more. How many shanks were seized in the year 2023 alone in just the US, UK, and Canada? Question number 19. The correct answer is B as in boy. 2,489 were seized in just the year 2023 alone. In just the US, Canada, and UK. If you want to know how many of that 2,489 were just in America, the total is 1,320 of that were seized in just America. The rest of it was made up by prisoners in the UK and in Canada. About 1,320 were just in America. We're a bunch of really, smart entrepreneurs, like thank you very much. Manufacturers of shanks. Maybe we can find an open market for those somewhere. Did you know all of these people, in case you can't tell who they are all felons? Let's start in the upper left-hand corner. That is Frank Sinatra. He is a felon. Then in the middle top is Elvis Presley. Then going to the right on the top row is Johnny Cash. Then we have going down to the second row, it's on the left, that is Jimi Hendrix. Then in the middle, that spot is Jim Morrison. Then we have onto the right, we have David Bowie. Bottom left corner, that is, I knew I was going to do this. Lead singer of the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger. And then in the middle, that is Janis Joplin. And then the bottom lower right corner is the dearly departed Mr. Nirvana himself, Kurt Cobain. All nine of them was six. Sometimes my head just goes, but all 9 of them are convicted felons. Don't know. I don't know what each of them. I don't know what Kurt Cobain. I'm guessing drugs. That'd be my guess, Q, but I don't know for sure. All right. Question number 20 of 20. Back to the United States. Prisons run on prison labor. What is the average hourly pay rate in all states for someone who works doing laundry? Is it A, 54 cents an hour, B, 99 cents an hour, C, 12 cents an hour, or D, $2.25 an hour. U.S. prisons run on prison labor. What is the average hourly pay rate for someone who works in the laundry? Well, very first thing that came up on Googling Elvis Presley's convictions. Elvis Presley was arrested and charged and convicted of assault and battery October 19th, 1956. Um, the charges were later dropped, and he just paid a fine. Let's see here. I'm just gonna scroll through them. Drugs. Convicted of the prosecutors convicted him of a felony, but at the time Elvis was able to use political and appointment and pressure from his fans to get them to change the prices the prices charges in Louisiana, and they pled him down, and does not say anything more on that. He was then brought into custody at the Cabo. See, that's how you pronounce it, Cabo Parish. C-A. Oh no, Cado. Those are D's. This is a handwritten letter of the list of his charges. Caddo Parish. He posted bond on this charge. Elvis's drummer was convicted of drug charges. Now, I'd have to look into it more. What is the average pay rate per hour for somebody who works in the laundry in prison? The correct answer is C. 12 cents an hour is what the going pay rate is for an inmate who works doing laundry. How many did you know or get correct tonight? You do not have to give yourself a letter grade. Some people like to keep, a running total of how many they got right or how many they got wrong. Tonight, I would have gotten 17 of the 20. 17. I would have gotten an A for the first time. This year, I would have gotten an A on the 20 questions. Last couple of weeks, I would have gotten like 14. A B right in the middle for a B, but not this week. This week I would have scored my first A. If you didn't get 17, keep on trying. One of these days, while putting this thing together, I hope to get an A. Get all 20 right. That trivia night hasn't come yet. Again, this is a harmless self-promotion, but for my merch store for the 411 now, I have coffee mugs, hats, stickers, t-shirts, all kinds of things that, if you're a fan of the channel, what you see there is the all black inside and out murder trivia coffee mug. That's the left side, front and back, and then the side view, opposite the handle of the three views that I chose there. It's $15.99 for the mug. Shipping and handling is based upon where you live, and yes, they do shipping internationally. Again, it's how far away you are based on the weight of what you're buying. Sneak peek at the poll question. Every Monday, I post a poll question on the community tab here on YouTube. You don't have to answer right now. You can ponder it for the next 24 hours. But the poll question that'll be up Monday, tomorrow, is the following. Should children under the age of 14 be handcuffed, fingerprinted, photographed, booked if they haven't committed a violent crime? A, yes. B, no. C, maybe. Or D, no opinion. How about those Red Sox? Again, you don't have to answer it now. You can ponder it. The question will be up on the community tab on YouTube tomorrow. If you are subscribed to 411 Now and you have the all notifications bell checked on your account, you can click on underneath this video, directly scroll down, and if it says subscribed, there's a bell icon. If you click on that, you have 3 different options. Either be notified for some content, all content, or none. If you are on all content, you will get notified of when I post a community tab, notices as well. But if you are on just some, you may not get notified of when I am posting things on the community. Now, the community tab I use for everything, from not only just these polls, but also if there's a change or something comes up, where it's going to affect that the trivia night's not going to happen, or it's going to be delayed, or it's going to be early. Same thing with the Saturday morning stream as well. Saturday morning live, page 2 news. Well, I'm glad you all I've had fun. I mean, that's what's important, right? Is even if you didn't get them all right, you had fun and maybe you learned something new. I mean, that's what's important is you have to hang out, with like-minded other people, and possibly learn something else. I mean, my moderators are doing a damn good job, at keeping this community, going, and making sure that we keep the riffraff away, those beatniks. As I'm not kidding, I have a moderator who calls everybody a beatnik except for me. They don't mean it in a harsh way. I've been moderating the beatniks. That's what I'm like. Whatever. I don't care. Just do what you wanted to do. You signed up for this. Great. But they don't mean it in a derogatory way at all. It's just something that they say that's funny. But they moderate for quite a few different channels besides myself. Kitty Coo had a great time. JDR did a really great on tonight's trivia. Kitty Coo had a great time. Thank you. Pippa Dot, me too. I had a really good time as well. And thank you, everyone. Well, thank you. I will look for that your comment right after this, Pippa Dot, on the comment section on my community post. I will definitely look for that right after this, Pippa Dot, as soon as I'm done here. If you ever feel you need to, keep me addressed, on anything that, why you're going to be stepping away for a while, you can always fire me off an email. That is my email address. And I check that email every single day. For those who have reached out and have been, gotten a reply from me, that is an email that I use, and I do respond back. Other people who are here in the community right now, they may know a completely different email, and that is my personal email. It's not necessarily for business. Well, you can, like I said, Pippadot, that the 411 now business, no spaces in there, at gmail.com. That is a clickable link right there. If you click on that, it should open up another window to fire me off an email. But I'm wide open, and transparent. If you have a question, you have a suggestion for trivia night, I want to hear it. We are running out of suggestions. Cement Shoes wasn't here tonight. I hope that Cement Shoes is feeling better or getting better. But we have a lot of suggestions for like Mafia trivia, a lot like Bonnie and Clyde, John Dillinger, Ma Barker, a lot of different, Al Capone, a lot of different trivia suggestions for mob question like content. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 others, but I'm always looking for more suggestions. Yeah, sending our love and our hope that Cement Shoes is feeling better, and that goes out for everybody else. If you're under the weather or if you have a medical condition, maybe you have Crohn's or whatever it might be that it makes it so you can't get around or you can't live the active life like others. I hope that somehow you're able to your condition gets better, and or your health gets better, so you can go forward with life. None of us know how many days that we get in this life. None of us do. We don't have a clock written on our wrist anymore, or yet, that tells us when our time is up. Enjoy life. Live it to the fullest. Well, thank you, Pippadot. I appreciate it. I had some, but I can't find my piece of paper. I'll find it. Well, Kitty Q, you've got my email. You can, if you would please, fire me off an email. With your suggestions. If you find your notes later on, I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your suggestions. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia. I want to thank each and every one of you again for being here tonight to play trivia with us. I really appreciate it. If you would hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already on the way out, I would really appreciate it. In the meantime, tomorrow, Monday, I have another episode of Murder Memorabilia, which items sold in the last 12 months, murder memorabilia item. So that video is tomorrow. And then I have another video on Wednesday and another one on Friday of this week that are already done, that are just waiting. The one on Wednesday is, I don't know if I'm going to actually release it. That's the one that AI just decided to make for me. And I might actually edit it, pull it down, and then edit it, because there's some parts in there that I'm like, I don't know if that really, fits with it. But it was 100% made by AI. I didn't ask for it. It just made it anyways, which is scary as hell that they have access to my YouTube. So they did, but now they don't because I changed my email. I mean, not my email, but my password. Well, thank you, Gayla. You're the best as well, and so is everyone else. But thank you again, everyone. And you have a terrific week ahead. Bye.